Highland don't sell out. No, 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 no. My Highland don't sell out. Please don't sell out. Remember your farmers, them now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of our program, our Poor People program. I'm the Poor People Defender. I am Jeffrey Tavares. We're going to speak about the FBI coming into Jamaica to investigate. Whoa, yo, yo, yo. Whoa, yo. I am giving you a warning. A new day is dawning. Like I behave myself this morning, but before I go there, so there's a burning issue. One of the ladies can go on the Zoom, Mr. Brown, who is in the studio there with you. Mr. Brown, are you there with me, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yes, there's a lady in the studio there that Mr. Thompson put in there, a teacher?
Yeah, she's there.
Okay, can you put her on the Zoom for me, like I can see her, please? To talk to her, because some bangarang they're going to the country. But we don't understand. Because I have my two important guests here waiting on me. So let's speak about the Federal Bureau of Investigation coming into Jamaica to investigate what is going on with the SSL. Good morning, Miss, what's your name again, Teach?
It's Miss Lowe.
Miss Lowe. Good morning, Miss Lowe. Can you tell me what is going on with the gentleman that you know, who the Jamaica Constable Force and the court in Jamaica kidnapped him?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm so upset. I'm not even calling names right now. Right now, I just want to talk about the kidnapping because I think that's exactly what it is. And yes, I'm a teacher, and the term kidnapping clearly states being holding someone against their own will. And that's a prospect from which I am looking at things from, because there's a matter before the courts.
What is the gentleman's name?
I don't want to say that as yet. So we don't want to hold that, and because it's still before the courts, and we have court coming up this week just the same. So we want to make sure that we give them full deliberation so they can do their thing. So one of the key things is the court. I call it court hopping or date hopping, because every time we do have a court date, something happens. It's either the police officer is putting on too many charges so he can't get bail, or we're having printer issues, or he's not at court. I don't know where else it could be, because he's always locked up. So I don't know what appointments he would have had that he couldn't have turned up at court, that type of thing. And it's really, I know he's frustrated, and so am I, because this has been going on since last year, July. My life changed last year, July 15th.
For the interest of time.
Yes.
Hold on, for the interest of time, because I want you to come back next week. We could deal with this, because this is going to take a whole hour.
Not a problem.
Because the government of Jamaica, they order killing, then kill Keith Clark in 2010. And nothing come out of it. Now they're kidnapping Jamaican citizens under Andrew Holness administration. They're infringing on the fundamental rights of the Jamaican people.
And that's what I'm saying. Let the courts do their due diligence. We've been there from last year. First hearing was on the 27th of July. We had a second hearing, and what was heard on the 27th was not what is being dealt with now. And we have actually given the courts the full, the courts to just take their action. If you have, and then my concern, I have a lot of concerns, because I have a lot of questions, because in order for someone to be arrested, you don't need to charge the person and then you look for your evidence. You're supposed to have your evidence on spot.
All right. Miss Lowe.
Yes.
I want you to come back in the studios of Roots 96.1 FM next week. But in the course of the week, I want to keep in contact with Dudley Thompson, because I may have a program with you on my YouTube channel, because the powers may be in Jamaica. Then watch Jeffrey Tavares' YouTube channel and then listen to Roots FM. Because when Wilfred Rattigan said they must call for the FBI, Roots FM was the first radio station, along with the Make We Talk program. Let Mr. Rattigan said it. So they follow Mr. Rattigan.
Oh, good.
Voice.
This is
call if you call for the FBI.
We have to speak out against it, Jeffrey, because one of the first things is I'm a teacher and I believe in principle. I cannot teach something in my classroom about allowing justice to take its course. And yet still you are actually going against our constitutional rights. We might be going towards a lot of different changes, but one of the first things is this: the Constitution still governs. So we need to make sure that the rights he is entitled to. Anybody, from what I learned about the Bails Act, anyone who is charged, you are entitled to. Now, if something else occurs, then fear to find, deal with it. But I don't want the excuses about him not being at court because him not have anywhere else going. Him not have anywhere else going. He must be at the jail cell sitting down. And then the fact is that the lawyer was present. That was what hurt me. The lawyer was there and the matter was still not here. To date, it's 6 months later, Jeffrey, and we still have not gotten disclosure statements. That's hypocrisy.
You know, let me and you talk off here. I am saying to the Central Police Station this morning, you know, make me go to center as go jump Gary phone, you know. I am saying to the powers may be in this country of Jamaica, there is a man locked up in Central Police Station who know why you lock him up. I don't know why you cover it up. You make a call name, you know. Miss Lowe,
yes.
Thank you for coming on. Please come back next week. We could deal with this some more.
But let's see what happens when he goes back to court.
Okay.
If he's present.
I hope he's not dead in there and in the hide it
In the name of Jesus, it ain't happening. Say, cannot happen, I will not accept it.
Okay, darling. Thank you for coming on, Miss Lowe.
I've known him too long, and he's not the type of person who is what we're thinking of. So guess what? We need to finish this. We're giving the courts the full chance and opportunity to deal with things in the way that it ought to be. So I'm asking the Jamaican justice system to make sure that it is properly done. We're not saying anything. We have actually backed off for 6 months. I've never been gone open with all the pain that I'm going through, with all the pain that other family members are going through. He has a child as big as and as grown as she is. I do have one too. We have a family. So you don't just and just push it aside and then just say, you know, that's it. No.
Okay. Okay, Miss Lowe.
For having me on. The pleasure was mine.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the short thing, but come back next week we could speak more about this. Because I was hoping to come on at 10:30, but because we had some other prior engagement and some guests coming on, you know, and they come on a bit late.
Okay.
So come back next week we could deal with this. Because next week, one of the persons want to speak to you next week is the poor people, one of the poor people defender who come from Waterhouse. In Bana grow Waterhouse, he know for Niam Tin Mackerel. And because see him there, Wilfred Rattigan.
Okay.
So come next week, we can talk some more about it, my dear.
Not a problem. I want to see the justice system being dealt with, so that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on.
Your pleasure is mine.
Thank you. This morning, we're going to speak to Mr. Herbert Nelson Jr., Wilfred Rattigan. We're going to speak about the FBI coming into Jamaica. And let me make something clear this morning. When Wilfred Rattigan asked for the FBI to come in, it was said on this little noble radio station in the inner city. And the Minister of Finance decided, say, yes, they're going to bring them in. But by the way, I saw a video circulating. As they said, they're not bringing FBI. A video of the Minister of Sports and Culture, Olivia Babsy-Grange, circulating. Oh, Jubilee, what long a Jubilee. And she there one table, one revival church. They jump up. Let me go no warning this morning here. Make I give you no warning. I hope you can hear this.
You're sorry.
Are you hearing it?
Jesus Christ is in the air. The mighty monaco.
Hey! Pull it up, Owen!
I am keeping I am
Ekele besete la lande. Cut it for me. Cut it for me, Owen, bro. Cut it. I am giving you a warning. The FBI are called. Want to take this thing for? Want to think we're idiot? If you don't allow the FBI to investigate the SSL multi-million-dollar US dollar saga, head no roll, I am giving you a warning. Jamaica House, House of Parliament, King's House, Minister of Finance or Finance and the Ministry, the FBI are called. This morning I have with me my two friends, Wilfred Radigan and Herb Nelson Jr. Mr. Nelson, if you're there, sir, put on your camera for us. Mr. Radigan.
Yes, sir.
Until we get our good, oh, here, there he is. The lady that said that he's a very handsome old man. There he is.
Oh, see, man.
Yes.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Hey, morning, Herb. How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. I just seen your note now about 10:30 because I was rushing to get everything done by 11.
Okay.
You know.
We didn't come on until we didn't come on at 10:30 anyhow.
Oh, okay.
But based on what you said on this radio station, Mr. Ratigan, that you're telling the government the best thing is to call in the FBI. It was said on this radio station here. And they listened to you because you went on one of our friend at a program on the YouTube channel, I say too. And they listen to us, they listen to you. Do you think that this government will give the FBI access to everything in a SSL? I am giving you a warning. The FBI are come. Answer the question for me.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jeffrey. And good morning to my fellow panelists, the illustrious Herb Nelson Jr., and to your distinguished and attentive listeners. Now, I've been counseling the Jamaican government. I've been advising them unofficially through your broadcast and other broadcasts about things that they should be doing to deal with the crime issue. I recall speaking to the Prime Minister directly, I think it was back in 2018 at Vale Royal, about Fusion Center. And I explained to him, because I've worked in fusion centers, I've staffed fusion centers, I know fusion centers inside out. And he listened, and it was only last week they announced that now they're going to open up a fusion center. Only last week. I told him this years ago. And I've told him and other members of his government lots of things as to how to deal with the crime problem in Jamaica. And the reason for that is this. I firmly believe that the Prime Minister of Jamaica is a Prime Minister of Jamaica, meaning that he's not the Prime Minister of a party. He's the Prime Minister of all Jamaica. And so we want to see him succeed, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that whoever sits in that office, whoever occupies that chair, that we do our best to make sure that they're successful, because when they are successful in what they're doing, the country will be successful. People will be successful. Businesses will be successful. And so we have no qualms about working with whoever sits in that chair. We're not about party. We're not about politics. We're about people and principles. And so I told them a long time ago, get the FBI involved, and they ignored. And then now it's up to the point, and they listen to your program. It's obvious that they listen to your program, because the other programs that you just mentioned, I spoke about this yesterday in the morning. So this thing has been marinating with them ever since we spoke on your program a while back. So will they give the FBI the access it needs to address the crime issues? Well, they're asking for, before I get to that point, the Prime Minister went to Washington, D.C. to ask for help over a month ago. He knew or should have known about this problem because he's in charge. He appointed the Minister of Finance. And so whether or not the Minister of Finance briefed him, that's of no concern to us. The fact of the matter is that he's the Prime Minister. He's responsible for everything that happens in his government. As difficult as it is to stomach, if you don't want the job, if you don't want the blame, then don't take it. But once you take that position, you're responsible for everything that happens. Yes, you have appointed a minister, right? You have delegated some responsibilities, but you cannot delegate blame. You cannot delegate blame. You can delegate praise, but you cannot, as a leader, you cannot delegate blame. It's yours, right? And as our friend, the fireman, said today, is that as of right now, the buck stops nowhere in Jamaica. Well, not of right now, for a while, because nobody's taking blame. But he came to America and he knew about this. Why? And he should have known about this. Why didn't he ask for help then? Why didn't he ask for help then? And why didn't he, when he made a public speech about giving up names of dons and this and that and that and that, why didn't he ask for that then? Why is he asking for, yes?
Owen, run the breaking news, Owen.
This is Roots 96.1 FM breaking news.
In the breaking news, at this hour, the Ministry of Finance and Public Service has released a statement saying that the temporary manager of Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, appointed by the Financial Services Commission, FSC, has confirmed to the Minister of Finance that the existence of an account at SSL in the name of a limited liability company owned by Ambassador Usain Bolt. He has further confirmed to the ministry that this account dates back to 2012. So the Ministry of Finance has released a statement confirming the existence of Usain Bolt's account at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL.
Mr. Brown, before you go, we have Mr. Herbert Nelson Jr. here and also Wilfred Rattigan. Sorry to break in like that, Mr. Rattigan, but this is a breaking news because Mr. Zachary, the former, and Mr. Harding, the former CEO of SSL, was saying that he never seen no account did for Usain Bolt. Now tell me something now, Mr. Nelson. The former CEO said he not seen no account there. So how does somebody know who? What is somebody name again, Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
What the person name who they put in a charge SSL now?
Well, they have a new board chair and they also have a new manager. Gonna get the name for the new executive director.
Okay. So the question to ask Mr. Nelson now.
Board chair is actually the governor for the Bank of Jamaica, Richard Biles. So he's
Richard Biles, yes.
Board chair.
Mr. Nelson, what I don't understand, sir, the former CEO is saying that he has never seen an account there for Usain Bolt. So how is this happening now? Is it some cover-up going on there, sir?
Well, what he's doing is putting distance between himself and Usain by denying any associations. But there is ample evidence online, electronic evidence, showing that they've been associated since China. And I believe the Chinese Olympics was back in 2008. So you can imagine if he was advising Usain back then, and they had a close association, which it appears from all the pictures and videos we're seeing, that they have in fact been talking he was talking in an advisory role and allowing Usain to put his money in the right place. So I cannot agree with a statement that he had no idea where Usain's money was. So putting distance between himself and Usain at this point just draws more suspicion on his intent and his activities from 2008 when he first met Usain till now. So, you know, he would be one of the prime people that the FBI would need to have a discussion with. And I do hope they all are ready to volunteer for polygraphs, because that would help the FBI to speed up their targeting of possible suspects. You know, polygraphs do tell a story when you're doing deep dives, coming up with information, and then you want to ask the information while it's trapped in a polygraph chair so that you can see the deviation in heartbeat, breathing, and everything else. All right, that's where you pretty much know that they're trying to make stuff up as they go along.
Yes. And also, I need to ask this question too. The public body that invests, that invest with SSL, the National Health Fund, 240 million. National Housing Trust, 238.8 million. The National Insurance Fund, 8.4 million. Jamaica Agricultural Society, 8.9 million. Jamaica Bananas, $98,000. So the question me want to ask now, is SSL not a legal deposit financial institution? How can the government have all these three depositors in SSL?
Well, you know, it's interesting that the government has all of their money deposited at SSL, because when we looked at the top 10 financial institutions in Jamaica released by Andre Orton, they are nowhere near the top 10. And you would think that the government would want to be safe with the people's money, because that's taxpayer money right there. You would think that with all the loans and all the grants the government has been getting, they would put it in a place that is safe. Now, a lot of those grants and loans came from the United States, Canada, and the EU. So the FBI has a work cut out for them to find out if any US funds has been laid into by SSL members. All of this innocence that Mark Krosky professes, let's put it to the test. You know, let's see what Zachary found when he took over at SSL. That's Zachary Harding, right? Remember, one of the first things Zachary did when he took over at SSL was cancel this financial project, this joint venture deal that Mark Krosky had going, because he discovered Krosky was entering into a deal which required him to outlay some funds, and Krosky was never in possession of those funds. Now, that to me is a red flag. And the FBI needs to find out what was Krosky's intent for that deal. Where was he going to get the money from to enter into that? Not enter into, he did enter into, but to consummate that agreement. I think there's very important questions that and leads that I need to follow.
Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, sir.
Your views on the question asks, how is it that the government have so much money invest in SSL? Taxpayers' money, belongs to Andrew, Nareen brother, Nareen twin brother in a parliament with him. It belongs to the people of this country. How is it that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entities that belongs to the taxpayers of this country? National Health Fund, $740 million. National Housing Trust, $238.8 million. National Insurance Scheme, our fund, $8.4 million. Jamaica Agricultural Society, $8.9 million. And the banana board, the banana sit when they have, the banana done in Jamaica, they make them banana. $98,000 was invested in it. Mr. Rattigan, what is your views on all of this, sir?
Well, I don't think there are any prohibitions against government investing with an investment firm, investing taxpayers' funds. You see it happen all over the world. The issue I have with it is this. Red flags went up in 2017 about that,
True.
about that company, SSL. And therefore, and I believe there were corrective action recommended for that company to continue to do business. And apparently the corrective actions were ignored. So it seems to me as if the government was negligent in investing those monies there. If the monies were there before, then certainly after 2017, they should have withdrawn the funds and moved it elsewhere. And if they put the money after the red flags went up, that's even worse. It showed, because the government has a duty of care to the public when you take public funds and you invest it. And then when you invest it negligently, there should be a cost to bear, a price to bear, consequences to flow therefrom.
Yes. On that thought, we're going to take a quick poll. On that thought, we're going to take a quick commercial break on Roots and 6.1 FM. I want you to play I'm giving you a warning again for me, Mr. Brown. We'll be right back here and make we talk.
My Highland don't sell out.
New budget supplies, massive price buster now on. Want to redo that kitchen? Retile that old floor? Stop that leaking roof? Make over the bathroom? It's now or never. White toilet from $14,999. 5-gallon paint from $6,599. Gypsum board $1,749. 50% off UPVC French windows. 10% off kitchen sinks, water tanks, and pumps. 195 Hackleburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New budget supplies. Always the best prices.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian.
Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's going to be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary. Extraordinary.
The mighty man are come. The FBI they come. The FBI is coming. Jamaica, the FBI is coming. We don't see who take away SSL money. They have that talk about now. They don't know if to say in both and no account. They want to hear about it this morning. On the breaking news that was sent out by the Ministry of Finance. You hear? The FBI is coming. And if they allow the FBI to investigate properly, head no road long Timber Hill. So all who want go a bomb yard and table. Who no go on a bomb yard and table. Because bam, you don't table now saving on this time. Too much corruption going on in this country. It is now 11:35 and Roots on the 6.1 FM. We may go over, I'm not sure yet. It all depends on these two good gentlemen that we have here. But Mr. Rattigan, do you believe? And maybe I should ask this question. If the government of Jamaica should call you, Mr. Rattigan, and say to you, Mr. Rattigan, I want you to come in and be an advisor to the Prime Minister since the FBI is coming in. What would you advise the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police to do?
Well, several things. One is, the easy part is to ask the FBI to come in. And here's the difficulty. We don't know when they're coming in. We don't know, because that could take a while for them to assemble a team. We don't know who they're bringing. We don't know when they get to Jamaica, what the scope of work will be. So there are some issues that we have to discuss before they come. And some of the issues have to do with administrative. Some of the issues are political. Some of the issues are legal. Some of the issues are operational. So, and some of them are admin, admin, political, legal, operational. Because when they come in, these are trained investigators, and they investigate to the logical conclusion. So if they start with SSL, for example, and they see tentacles going to NCB or JMMB or Scotia, whatever, they're going to follow those things. So the government has to decide now, do we want them to do that? Because if they do that, it could spell disaster. Or do we want to just limit them to just SSL? Just say, okay, just tell us what is going on with SSL. The other thing is, who is going to lead this investigation? Will because Jamaica is, last time I checked, still a sovereign country. Will Jamaica give up its sovereignty and allow the FBI to come in and lead the investigation, take over the investigation completely? Or will Jamaica say, no, it will be joint? Or will Jamaica say, you know what? We will do it and you guys stay in the background and you just tell us what you want us to do and we'll do it and provide you with the results. Then when it comes to interviewing people, will the Jamaican government stand up and say to the FBI that, no, these are our citizens. And before you talk to them, you're going to talk to us to find out what you want to talk to them about, because we're not going to just subject our people to your questioning. So and I've worked through.
Although they may say that, but suppose it that money that transfer from SSL reach the American banking system, isn't that a different kettle of fish? Although they're going to say you can't, it is Jamaica's jurisdiction and, blah, 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 kind of bangarang.
Well, look, the moment you're asking for help, it tells me that you can't handle the problem, right? And when I say you can't handle the problem, it might be that you cannot handle it totally, but you can handle it partially. And you need some kind of assistance. Or it may be that you can't handle it in over your head and you just want somebody to come in and take over the investigation. So Jamaica has to decide. And by the way, it's interesting that the Minister of Finance made this announcement. That should have been made by the Prime Minister or the Minister of National Security. That's their bailiwick, right? So again, I don't understand what's going on with this mumbo jumbo and ducking and diving, and it tells me that there's no structure there, because the way it should have been done is that the press conference should have been attended by the Minister of National Security at the very least, and the Prime Minister, right?
Do we have a Minister of National Security?
Well, I see a picture of him over with I think with the U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica and a few others when they made the announcement about having a fusion center and the collaboration and all of that. So he's still in place, but he should have been there. You see what I'm saying? His absence spoke volumes. He should have been there to make that announcement, right? But he wasn't there. So I don't understand this, where the Minister of National Security, Minister of Finance is making this call out saying that, we are asking for the FBI and international partners to come and help. That what he should have done is just stay in his lane, talk about the finance, talk about what the regulations, and then have the Minister of National Security come in and talk about the impending investigation, the present investigation, and the continuing investigation. That's how it should have been done. But they have a lot to talk about. What I would suggest to them is this, and they're listening to your program, and we know this, is that swallow your pride, government, swallow your pride. I am willing to help. I am a son of the soil, Waterhouse. But through the grace of God, good parents, a nice community, outstanding teachers and friends, I am where I am. I would like to share the wealth of my experience in these situations with Jamaica. It's a whole heap of things I have up there, so I'm gonna download it. Download it. Call me, right? Let's put the differences that you people have with me. I don't have anything with you guys, you know, because as I said before, I'm willing to come back and work for free. Don't pay me. Take the money where you don't pay me, set up a scholarship for some inner city children. That's all. Don't give me a cent, right? But they need somebody who has done this before to come in and help them. I've done this many times before. And so I will be able to come in and sit down with them and say, look, when the FBI, when they come in, or before they come in, here are some of the issues that we need to address before they come. And when they do come, here are some of the issues that we need to address. The other thing is, when they're finished, what will they, I'm sure they're gonna have to do a report, because unlike Jamaica, when the FBI, when they do something, they have to justify coming, and when they're done, they have to do a report about how they spend the US taxpayers' money, right? So a report will be generated. So the question you're gonna have to ask is, will that report, and it will have recommendations as well. And it may have some charging information in there, because like you said, if they discover that people use the banking system to launder money, or, you know, to ill-gotten gains went through it, fraudulent monies went through it, then they have jurisdiction. They could come back to Department of Justice and bring charges. So you need to know, okay, when that report is done, will that report stay with us? And will that report be completely comprehensive, or is there another report that we won't see that will go to America? We need to, these are all the things that they need to sit down and talk about. So I'm offering my services again as an FBI agent with almost 30 years on the job, and who's worked overseas and worked in these situations. Tell them to give me a call. They can reach out to Jeffrey Tavares, or they can reach out to me directly and give me a call. I'm perfectly willing to sit down. We know them not like me. Some of them, at least. But at the end of the day, it's not about liking me. It's about the safety and security of the financial entities in Jamaica, and it's about the safety and the security of the Jamaican public and investors. And I'm willing to set aside any differences that I may have with them, and I hope that they will put aside any differences they have with me. And the differences I have with them, they're factual. They're not emotional. They're factual. It's things that they have done that I've openly rebuked. So I'm available.
Mr. Herb Nelson Jr., you have something to say, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. I just want to remind the audience that there is a U.S. Jamaica agreement in place that was established with the resident Homeland Security Investigation Office in Jamaica. And that there's indeed a FBI legat at that office, or assistant legat, I think, as Mr. Radigan can attest to. The fact is, that agreement should serve if they wanted a joint team to come in, because I'm not certain what HSI is following at this point. But if HSI has been doing their jobs, they should have been well aware of this issue a year out, or even much longer. They should have been aware of the money laundering issues associated with SSL and other banking systems in Jamaica. So to bring the FBI in at this point is enhancing the team down there, and they could, in fact, do an expansion of whatever investigations they have going. And that way you don't do a start over. And that way you stick to an agreement that's in existence and don't give people who've been in cover-up mode for so long the chance to make excuses or to do like what the deputy commissioner of police did to the last head of HSI, is to plant people on the team and then have evidence get diverted or evidence disappear or whatever the case is. Now, you know, we're talking about the Minister of Finance in this situation. A Minister of Finance who's missed out on his responsibilities to have audited the transactions that was happening through the FSC. The FSC had an investigation ongoing since 2017. If, in fact, that investigation opinions of the auditors were ignored, then the Minister of Finance should be turning in his resignation right after the head of the FSC turned in his, because it's on him, nobody else. This is his bailiwick.
Not only him, Mr. Nelson, but the former Minister of Finance, Manayard, who dubbed himself as Manayard, Audley Shaw, should have known what is going on at the FSC and also at SSL. Go ahead, sir.
Yep. So the fact is, the FBI and whatever investigative team has to establish what did the PM, what did members of the PM's office, to include Mrs. PM and the others in Ministry of Finance, in FID and the FSC know, and when did they know it? They have to establish a timeline here in order to have an effective investigation. And let me say this, there's so many rumors abound in Jamaica as to where the money is being borrowed from the SSL, where that money was being utilized, and that those monies will be returned to various accounts. So if indeed that has been an ongoing system of borrowing money, which I am aware of SSL being a full financial organization, that you can go in and borrow money and then have the money returned to different accounts, especially when the account holders have no idea how the money is being used. Now, if you're saying that's an investment, then they should have been notified of those investments and told where the money was being invested. Give them an opportunity, give transparency is the bottom line. So at this point, for the media to ignore the shortcomings of the Minister of Finance and his entire team of oversight, to still have the board at FSC in place, that whole board needs to be fired. And then we note here that they're bringing in the Bank of Jamaica Governor Richard Biles as a new FSC chairman. Well, the governor of the bank regulates the depository institutions. I repeat that again, he regulates the depository institutions. So here it is now, he's going to chair the board of regulators of non-depository institutions.
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
It is a conflict of interest. Not only that, but it gives him a dictatorial powers over the entire Jamaica financial section. And he's an unelected citizen. So I don't see the need to bring him into a situation where he has all his power. It just gives the appearance that they're cleaning up. There's some cleanup on the way. Long before the FBI even gets there.
Before the FBI comes in, Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
So Mr. Nelson, do you think at this point in time, do you think the depositors will ever get back their money? who lost their money?
There's no insurance FDIC agency in Jamaica that I know of.
Mhm.
Right? And if indeed there's none, then the government should be instituting their part of the investigation to track and trace using cyber means. I know you have a very competent person in Jamaica, Mr. Is it Finzi Smith?
Yes.
Yes. And he has the ability to do track and tracing of all the funds that was being loaned out, who got it, and most interesting is, I don't know if it's a rumor or it is written someplace, where Jay Olness had gotten $1 million US from the SSL. And the question now arises, if the PM's office is compromised, if the finance and the FSC and all the other levels are compromised, why bother call the FBI in? How do you plan to clean it up? Are you going to confess to the people of Jamaica first and foremost that this? Let me back up a second. The rumors also have it, and what we're looking at is how many high-ranking security officers, JDF, JCF, Customs, actually had accounts at the SSL. And if they have accounts at the SSL and they are actively doing this, or participating in this investigation, that too is a conflict of interest.
So in other words, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Rattigan, to me, all what is going on is just a face thing, so we're investigating, but it's already corrupt. Nobody investigates a bloody thing. I don't know how come out of it. Not a thing coming out of it because it is so corrupt. It's unbelievable. Am I wrong or am I right, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Rattigan?
You're on the mark, right? The backlash from the whole world is causing them to panic at this point. And that's why they want the FBI to come in and clean up their mess. But they should have records at SSL that indicates where SSL has been loaning out money. That woman, when she spoke the other day, she gave you the details of her portion, what she did. She did not speak about Bolt's money or anybody else's money. And then we see all these rumors of all this other money that's missing. So the fact is, they have to come up with a complete list of the loans that were being done and also what was repaid. Because there's no way SSL had been operating in a sound fiscal manner, judging from all the stuff that's coming out and judging from what we're seeing with cyber attacks and other problems that they had. There's just too much perchance that they have not told their depositors. And it's time to fully confess up. And the government has to acknowledge that they have not done their jobs any at all because everybody had their hand in the cookie jar.
So Mr. Rattigan, Wilfred Rattigan, the son of the soil from Waterhouse, who know how to cook tin mackerel and call it dirty girl and eat it. Let me ask a question now, sir. Because I love tin mackerel and rice and tin mackerel and dumpling and tin mackerel and everything else. Or I eat some, you know. Let me ask you a question, sir. Based on what is going on, based on the corruption that link the JCF, link MOCA, link everywhere, do you think anything substantial will come out of this investigation, sir?
Well, it depends on who's in charge of the investigation. If the FBI is in charge of the investigation, yes, something will come out. Well, no, let me back up. They will discover the truth. I have no doubt about that. Now, whether or not that truth will reach the Jamaican public, that's something else. Because the FBI is not going to come out and make a public statement saying, yeah, we found corruption here, there, and everywhere. What they will do is they'll keep that for them, for their files. Some things they will report to the Jamaican government, and some things will be kept classified, right? And the Jamaican public, who should hear about the results of the investigation, they may never see that report. But what will happen is this: the fact that the FBI is coming in, and I hope they come in with a well, they always do, come in with a nice team of people. I'm hoping that the Jamaican government will kind of sort out the details and give them enough space to conduct their investigation. And then people will talk. People are going to talk, because everybody, all of them who have an American visa, I don't know if a single one of them who have a visa who say, hey, you know what, I don't care about this visa. You know, them can't take it all they want. No. It's only when the visa gone, you hear them say that. And then after a year or two, when them can't travel, go Miami, go floss, then it's a different thing. So once the specter of that threat is going to be hovering over that investigation. But I'm confident that the FBI is going to dig deep and get to the bottom of all of this. The question is, once they're done, what will they do with the report? If they find criminality affecting the, go ahead.
So that means if the FBI dig and find out that the Honorable Rambalumbe and the Honorable Tin Mackerel and the Honorable Bully Beef is involved in what is going on in FSC, and some hanky-panky went on, and they can't tell people in Jamaica where they get the money from, we will never know which of the Honorable this or the Honorable that.
Well, what we need to do is this. We need to make sure that at the conclusion of the investigation, and the FBI, they're not in the business of coming and staying and, you know, and extend the investigation. They want to go in, they want to do as thorough and as quick a job as they possibly can. They want to be able to write their report and then they leave. They're not in the business of coming and just hanging around for the sake of hanging around. If they want to do that, they have somebody at the embassy that they can have to do that. What should happen is this. What will happen is maybe it's the same thing or something different. But what should happen is that once the investigation has been concluded, there should be a joint press conference with Jamaican authorities and the FBI, and they should talk about their findings. That is what should happen. And what will happen? And you see, if the Jamaican government is really serious about this, they will insist. They will say to the FBI, listen, once we're done, regardless of where the chips may fall, we're going to have a press conference. The FBI will show up for the press conference. They'll show up for the press conference and they will add their 2 cents, but they're going to leave it to the Jamaican government to take the lead and say, you know, provide the details. But that's what should happen, where they have a press conference and they're open to questions. That's what I expect to happen. Whether it will happen, I don't know.
Mr. Herb Nelson, we only have a minute leave. Give me your final thing on Roots FM. Can you all go over with me over about till 12:15 or 12:30?
Okay.
I'm at your service, sir.
Oh, thank you very much.
Problem.
We can go out to our 3 o'clock this evening. Go ahead.
If Mr. Radigan is so kind, who am I to deny you?
So all who is watching and listening on Roots FM, come on over to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares channel, because there's something that we want to say that we can't say it on here. Go ahead. 1 minute to have leave, Mr. Nelson.
Look, this to me is very simple. It's a gross dereliction of duties from the very top. And it's gross because nobody wanted to look into what was happening, because they all were enjoying the fruits from the poison tree. They all were enjoying it. So when you have a situation where the people of Jamaica are supposed to be defended, their security, physical security is at risk, serious risk, and they've been dying. Now, their financial security is also at serious risk because of indiscipline in the ranks. And I mean all the ranks, whether it's government civilian or whether it's police and military. Somebody at the top knows what was happening and they kept their mouth shut. So if you want to play that game, then you must now take the responsibility for what has occurred. That's my 10 cents.
Thank you very much. Wilfred Radigan, don't go anywhere. Herb Nelson Jr., don't go anywhere. We're going to say goodbye to Roots 96.1 FM. Anybody who's listening on Roots 96.1 FM or on Roots 96.1 FM YouTube channel, come on over to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're going to dig deeper in this because the diaspora, some members of the diaspora have a team assembled to dig deep in what is going on because the FBI are come. Owen Brown, take it away. I'm giving you a warning. A new day is dawning. You better get prepared. On to you, Mr. Brown.
Jesus Christ is in the air. The mighty monaco.
The FBI are come.
I am keeping you on
This is where we say goodbye to Roots FM. Welcome back to the Make We Talk program, Mr. Herb Nelson Jr. and Wilfred Radigan. I want to ask this question now, Mr. Nelson and Mr. Ratigan. Mr. Ratigan is still there with us, sir?
Yeah.
Yes. If the members of the diaspora demand of the Jamaican government, because there's a thing they call Information Act. What name again, Mr. Ratigan?
Access to Information Act.
Right. And a case like that, it can't be covered up where we can't get information, Mr. Nelson. What do you think?
Okay, repeat the question again.
The question I'm asking is this. If the FBI comes in, find out that Bully Beef and Tin Mackerel involved in a scamming, and Bully Beef and Tin Mackerel put, say, $3 billion into SSS, and Bully Beef and Tin Mackerel cannot say where they get the $3 billion from, but the FBI finds that is in there, and they hide it, the government decide to hide it. Do you think that based on the Access to Information Act, that we all should know what is going on? If I'm making any sense?
Yes, you make a lot of sense. But the thing is, what makes sense to us here in the diaspora, you don't know what convoluted reporting you're going to be getting from Jamaica. Because everything that they do is to obfuscate the things that they're doing. And the FBI is not going to tell us, as Mr. Ratigan attested to earlier. But we should have an ombudsman of sorts, like Professor Trevor Monroe, or the other lady down there. I'm trying to remember her name right now. Who does it?
Janet Calder?
Miss Calder, yes. I know she's gonna kill me over this. but we need to have them as a part of that team, as a citizens oversight team that allows transparency and exceptional reporting in this case, because this is really destroying Jamaica's name overseas. And it's causing angst amongst the population here. I mean, there's just so many loans that Mr. Krosky was working on, take note. And you have to wonder, why would he be taking out all those loans if his loan shark in operation with the government was working? You know, this is what I find fascinating. And the other day, what came up with this banker, George Shai, had loaned him funds, and that he was able to address the problems, financial problems at SSL. So if SSL was having financial problems to where he had to go to outside source to borrow money, why wasn't the FSC aware of that? And why wasn't the depositors at FFC told, at SSL rather, told by FSC what in the world was going on?
Or FSC knew about it. FSC was going to do something about it. And a telephone call was made to the chairman of FSC to stand down.
Yeah, but that's not protecting the citizens and the people from these money sharks.
Because SSL has been a stamping ground for the governing party.
Well, there's no secret that the lady who was in charge of FSC from 2017 to 2022 was a staunch GLP supporter. She wore her green very well, and she was very prominent at party functions. So the fact that she did whatever it took to support the Jamaica Labour Party should be something that the FSC board should have addressed, should have advised her that it doesn't bode well for the reputation of the organization. And the organization may have been the ones that also membership should be investigated for having their hands in the same cookie jar. All the cookie jar people need to be exposed, every last one, because we can't have this happening again. And believe me, if we don't make this investigation effective, it will happen again down the road. It doesn't matter which party is in power.
But I can ask Mr. Rattigan this, and also you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Rattigan, if it happened thus, that the FBI go in and the government of Jamaica do not reveal what the FBI has shown them, and say a group of the Jamaican people who lives in the diaspora do some investigating on themselves and find out who is involved in the hanky-panky at SSL and other stuff, can they make that public?
It depends. There are ways it can there are ways it can go around it. I won't get into it. No, but there are ways that if the diaspora should get their hands on information that the Jamaican government won't release to the FBI, that they can share with the public. Yes, there are ways to get around that issue. I don't think it's that big of an issue. If you go out and you get the information on your own, then you know it's fine. Especially if you go to certain places where we know information is stored there. Anybody can go there and get that information. When I say anybody, I mean anybody with the requisite skill. They can go there and they can get that information, and then they can share it. So, But the premise of the question, though, is what we should be looking at. Why would they invite the FBI and then try to hide stuff from them? No, having said that, let's keep that as a rhetorical question for now. The question I'd like to answer, for them to answer, is why is it that you waited until now to call the FBI? Because here's what happened. They knew about this back in 2017, and this continued all the way until now. Why didn't you call the FBI last week? Why didn't you call them the week before? Why didn't you call them when you were in Washington, D.C.? Why didn't you call them before? And I tend to think that it was delayed because there is evidence that the FBI would love to get his hands on if they're allowed to come in and do this investigation. That might disappear before they get here. So there was a lag time where things can disappear, like computers can disappear, hard documents can disappear, thumb drives can disappear, a whole bunch of things can disappear. So I don't know why they waited until now to ask the FBI. No, having said that, digital evidence can't disappear. So the FBI is going to be looking, if they're allowed to come in, they're going to be looking at bank records, they're going to be looking at telephone records, they're going to be looking at travel records, and other records they're going to be looking at to try and piece the puzzle together. And they'll be able to recover some of the information. But I'm just concerned, like, equipment is gone. I mean, if the equipment is there, the FBI can get the information off of the equipment, deleted or not. But once the equipment is not there, then what do you do? Now, what they can do is that they can look at it from the opposite end. So, for example, if Miss Panton, for example, was communicating with one of these victims, but then all of a sudden you can't find Miss Panton's computer, then what the FBI is able to do is go to that person that she was communicating with and then pull up the communication between that person and Miss Panton. And they're also able to go to servers and find information. It's going to be a little bit more involved than if the equipment is just sitting there when they walk into the room. But you know, I have faith and confidence in my former colleagues that whatever the task is, they're up to and beyond addressing the task and achieving their goals. So they'll find the information. I'm confident they'll find the information.
Yes, they will find the information, Mr. Rattigan. But you know what? Let's not get into that part. Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, look, the track and tracing is an art form. And I'm certain that the FBI, HSI, even the CIA may have gathered information. There's a lot of information, drips and drops, that CIA gathers, that they come back to it later on. And every US agency that does monitoring, NSA included, Cybercom included, that all needs to join in, all hands on deck, to find out what it is that these criminals are hiding and how did they hide it. And I'm sure in track and tracing electronic data, in recovering what has been deleted, in working in the dark web, the dark spaces, to see what's out there, looking at message trafficking, text messaging, wherever the texts are, asking people to surrender their cell phones, their laptops, and their desktops. They're going to come up with a proper timeline as to what was going on. What did the government know, and when did they know it? And who failed to take action? And whoever failed to take action under those circumstances, then they need to resign. But we already know that the Minister of Finance didn't take any action, so he needs to resign. Now, if the Prime Minister's office has involvement then heads need to roll, even if it means that the PM himself got to step down.
So, all right, Mr. Nelson and Mr. Rattigan. So, suppose is it that the FBI find out that the Prime Minister of Jamaica is involved in certain things. How would they go about doing that? Would they still keep it under wrap and don't tell the Jamaican people?
Well,
Because of the authorities XQYZ?
well, it depends. If he's committed a crime against the US, or if he violated US laws, like let's say, for example, that they found that he had ill-gotten gains and it was transferred through the SWIFT system to a bank account anywhere in the world, then the FBI would have jurisdiction over that, and so he would be subjected to arrest and prosecution because he's violated the law, and he's no different. The only person I know in Jamaica, they say that there's no one is above the law, and you hear that all the time. Well, we know that in America that to some degree it's true, because we see them searching the president's home, and I'm looking at CNN here. They just searched Vice President Pence's home, and they found classified documents there too, right? So nobody's above the law. They're just although they're saying that his attorney found it and notified the FBI, but they're conducting a search, and actually they found it last week. But there's one person I know who's above the law in Jamaica, and that is the Governor General. And that is by constitutional proclamation, right? So the Prime Minister is not above the law. He's not above the law in Jamaica. He's not above the law in the US. So if it's determined that he violated a US law, forget about Jamaican law, because I don't know what they're going to do in Jamaica. But I know that if he violates US law, that the International Corruption Unit, along with the US Attorney's Office out of Miami, they can issue an arrest warrant for him, and they can prosecute him, and they can put him in prison. That much I know. So if the Prime Minister did that, if he put money in any financial institution or wire transferred money, if he wire transferred money through a financial institution to any place in the world, and it went through the SWIFT system, he faces criminal liability. So that's why I'm saying I'm anxious. I'm waiting to see what first of all, I can tell you, once I see the team that they bring, I can tell you exactly where they're going. Once I see the team, I can tell you where they're going. If it's just an SSL thing, or they come down and wherever it's going to take them, they're just going to go. Because right now, I'm telling you, that statement made yesterday by the Minister of Finance, people in Jamaica, people of influence and power, I'm sure they're shaking in their boots right now, because that's the last thing they want. Remember, no, they didn't want me, right? Because they figured that I'm still
too handsome. That's the thing.
And they think that I'm going to come down there and cause problems. If they think I'm going to cause problems, I'm just one a retired FBI agent. Think about if the FBI shows up with 12 current FBI agents, and here's what they show up with. If they show up with big data analysts, and they should have about 2 of them. If they show up with forensic accountants, and they should have maybe 3 to 4 of them. If they show up with white collar investigators, people with specialized skills in that area, and if they show up with like 2 regular agents, and if they show up with an admin person or 2 admin people, then there's going to be a lot of problems, because that team, it's a big enough team that they can wrap their arms around this whole financial scandal. And if you notice, I said financial, meaning not just SSL, but wherever SSL has tentacles to, they're going to go. Big problem. And if they bring me along and say, hey, we want you to come along as our consultant, it's over. It's over, because I heard laugh, because we know where some of the skeletons are buried. And once we get in with them and said, okay, look right here, interview this one, visit this place, look at this record, it's over. And then we have our own records that we can bring to bear. And we would bring our records We'd bring our records for intelligence purposes only because our records wouldn't be good in court. But our records would be able to point them in the right direction so that then they can go and use the legal process to get the same stuff that we have and that can be used in court.
The thing I said earlier was that before they even leave the US, they should pull everything that the CIA, that NSA, that Cybercom, that HSI, that the FBI themselves have on SSL from birth to present, and to look at every one of these players that they're trying to bring in to cover themselves, right? Biles step into the breach to head FSC, look at him, right? Look at everybody that they're moving into place to cover themselves. Look at their compromises, right? Before they even leave the US, they should have all this data together. And so when they get here, it's a walk in the park.
And another thing, we don't want to see any unexplained fires between now and the time the FBI show up. And we don't want to see people missing. And we don't want to hear about dockets missing. We don't want to hear about any of that, right? Because that's just an attempt to thwart the investigation from being fully completed. But the FBI is fully aware of that. And like I said, between the FBI, Homeland Security, and the Secret Service, I think all three agencies should be involved. I think once they're there, they can piece this puzzle together. These guys are, and girls, they're highly trained, and they have some of the best equipment out there that they can do stuff. You'd be amazed at how quickly, and I used to work with a lady who was a big data specialist, and you could give this woman like 3 million pieces of information, and within a work day, she could distill that down to get to the information that you're interested in. So the whole bunch of files that not bother the American agencies. That doesn't bother. In fact, these people, they love to see that because that's what they live for. So we're watching, we're waiting, we're hoping, and we're available.
But Mr. Rattigan and Mr. Nelson, suppose the FBI comes in and the authorities say, look here, you can't go down this up. You can't go in a Jamaica house, the room there. You can't investigate nobody at the Prime Minister's office. What happened?
Well, let me tell you what would happen. There would be a call to the Prime Minister and said, we can't work if this is a condition. I've been involved in a situation like that where we're in a particular country and we had to do certain things. And we needed the cooperation of everyone. And people started saying, well, they're not going to come, blah, blah, blah. And so I went to the person in charge and I said, look, this is what I'm hearing. And it's not going to happen if these people don't show up. And he sent out an edict that night. It wasn't a request. It was an edict saying, you guys will show up tomorrow morning. And guess what? The room was packed the following morning. Everybody showed up. And he said, not only will you show up, you will cooperate. Mm-hmm. And we got the cooperation. So if they show up and they start saying, well, you can't look there. I mean, think about it. You calling the FBI in to help you investigate, and then you tell them you can't look there. Immediately, there is suspicion. Immediately. And then the question is, why do you call us for help, but then tell us we can't provide the help in certain areas? Immediate suspicion. So they can't do that. So and I know they're listening to your program. So this message is directed to the Minister of Finance, the Minister of National Security, and the Prime Minister and their confederates. We will have no unexplained fires. We don't want any fires surrounding any of these buildings or wherever these files are. We don't want any missing computers. We don't want hard copy records to be removed. They're supposed to be secured. We don't want people missing. And when the FBI show up, make sure you give them full control over all aspects of the investigation, because at the end of the day, Mr. Prime Minister, you said you wanted to run. This was your fervent hope and wish and desire when you took office in 2016 for the second time, that you were going to run a transparent, open government. This is your chance to prove to the Jamaican people and the world, because everybody's watching this story, that that's exactly what you are doing. So open up the place, let the investigators come in, let them work alongside your investigators. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, Jeffrey. One of the things that the FBI will certainly do, or I would do, you know, or I did when I was on something like this, is you have a hotline. You hear them saying farmer for dead in Jamaica. That only means if them talk to the JCF. People know that when you talk to the FBI, they know two things. Your information will be protected and you will be protected. They know that there'll be no leaks. They know that. So what will happen is that the people will be calling in. They will definitely be calling into the FBI, and information is going to flow. Information is going to flow like a river. So I'm anxiously anticipating the news that the FBI is there. Anxiously awaiting the news that the government has decided to give them basically free rein to conduct the investigation and take it wherever or follow. Oh, another thing, you don't follow people. So for example, people tell you, oh, this minister is this and that minister is that and this one and that. No. This is a money case. This is not a murder case. This is a money case. So what the FBI will do in this case is they will follow the money. They won't follow a person. They'll follow the money because the money is going to take them to the responsible people. And we need to keep that in mind, that names at this point in time, that's secondary. What we really need is, we really need accounts. We really need to find out where the money was deposited. And then we start talking about who deposited, who was responsible for managing that account, and then we'll figure out where the money went. So, Herb, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, well, we already know that there were over 40 individuals at SSL who have been impacted. So to follow when their monies were pulled from their accounts, and to which they can attribute that to whatever computer pulled it. And I assume they have IDs when they go in to do these draws, and they can track and trace that money to see where that money was even deposited. Because if you're using AI is gives a trail. If you withdraw 23,000 US from SSL, and you have a deposit of 20,000 plus another 3,000 at Sagicor or NCB, then that's track and tracing using AI. And they can come up with those algorithms to be able to track and trace effectively. AI, this is going to be a cakewalk for AI. And if they bring the right experts in, they're going to be identifying a lot of this stuff. And keep in mind, it's not just the FBI. FBI may even ask some of the experts from the NCIS, the Naval Command Service, to send the best experts down, because they're very good at this as well. A lot of people don't know that. But NCIS has one of the best computer science investigative departments. And they can come in there using their AI, and they can track and trace just as well as any other expert. But like I say, if you put the big boys on this here, before the FBI gets on a plane to come down to Jamaica, they'll have a full background briefing on everything that Cybercom and NSA, their own FBI department, that special FBI team down in Florida, Mr. Radigan. We spoke about them before, but they do extraordinary. You're muted. Will, you're muted.
Will, you're muted. We're not hearing you, Will. I don't think maybe he's not talking to us. Go ahead, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, all right. But there's a FBI team. I'm trying to remember their name. They're down in Florida, and they've been track and tracing a lot of activities in Jamaica for quite a while now. So there's no doubt in my mind that they will have advanced knowledge, stuff that they can look back at and cross-check, cross-reference, and find out what has been going on with regards to funds that's been moving in and out of SSL. And not just SSL. Everybody that SSL does business with will be monitored. And they will do back-tracing. In other words, what business with SSVL or Supreme Ventures that the SSL had, they'll look at that and they look carefully to see how much money was exchanged, if any. And, you know, all the naysayers, all the people who say they don't recall having seen any account from Mr. Bolt and everybody else, when they start digging up those text messages between Bolt and themselves, or emails between Bolt representative and themselves, then they're going to change the tune. So they might as well change the tune now. You know, it's a waste of time to deny when there's a trail out there that you cannot get rid of. Because it goes through Digicel or it goes through Flow or somebody else. Yeah, they're gonna find out who you've been talking to, who you've been helping, and all of these side deals that SSL made that they have to pay back funds. They're going to be looking at the source of the funding that they paid back. Where did the prosecutor get the money from? So, and the last thing I want to say is there are offshore and other companies that these guys run money through. They're going to be looking at that also. There are lots of them out there. And not just these guys, but members of the Prime Minister's office. They're going to be looking at those companies and looking at monies that pass through them.
Herbert Nelson Jr., Wilfred Radigan, both of you final word before we go off.
Well, as you can see, I'm off camera here. I'm running around trying to get some stuff done. But my final word is this. It's the call for the FBI to come in. It's late. This should have happened a long time ago. We've been asking for it for, I don't know, weeks. And it's late, but it's, we recognize the importance of having an investigative body independent of the JCF, MOCA, CTOC, and the others. Look at this thing, because now you have a group of people that they're not beholden to anyone in Jamaica, right? And they are committed professionals that they just follow the evidence, and wherever it takes them, that's it. I know that somebody said to me last night, they said, you know, the two most popular products being sold to politicians in Jamaica at this time, it's Malox and something else. It says for heartburn.
Vaseline.
Yeah. And then somebody also told me that they said, look, Jamaicans, when you go to church now, this weekend, and for the next several weekends until this thing is over, look to your left. Right. Because you might see a politician that represented that you never saw before. And now you're going to see him every week in church, because you have to call on the Lord to save him.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever has been done.
Mr. Rattigan, I think we have lost you.
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson, your final word. I think well, the politician, let's start go church already because Olivia Babsy Grange went to a revival church with a table.
And so, yeah, we would like, and if you notice, he said he asked for FBI and other investigative services. What I'm hoping is that the FBI will go in and they will take a full team with them, not only of FBI agents, but other people. And in the spirit of a fusion center that they said that they're creating, this is what they should be doing. Have everybody come together and say, once and for all, we're going to knock this ball out of the park and just deal with the issue, because this issue has to be dealt with and has to be dealt with now by true professionals. As I said before, no diss to the JCF. The JCF, they have some talented people, but they don't have enough. And there are some things out there that they don't know. So this is a good experience for them to rub shoulders with some of these people who are doing cutting edge stuff. And so that they can mentor and shape the way that these people think and do business in the future. I want to say a big shout out to the chairman of the Police Federation, the hard-working Corporal Rowan James. That man deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing, trying to get the police up to first world standard with resources and remuneration. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that we in the diaspora support him 100% what he's doing. And we just hope that he's brought into the mix as well. I mean, his people, so that this man, we've spoken to him on several occasions, we in the diaspora, and we have found him to be a very, very credible, articulate, intelligent man. Knows the issues. He should be at the police, the high command, but he's not there. He is where he is, and he's doing a fantastic job. So I just want to say a big shout out to him and the hardworking people of the Federation and all of the JCF people. You know who I'm talking to. We have some bad apples in there, but they're very few, and we're going to clean that up as well. So I give you thanks again, Jeffrey, for having me on the program.
Yes,
and for having me alongside my good friend and brother, Herb Nelson Jr. And as always, I learn and I give out some knowledge while I'm on the program. And I look forward to being on your program again, whether it's tonight, tomorrow night, next week, whenever. And by the way, folks, you can tune in for another discussion on this topic on Saturday between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. on www.reggaeglobalradio.com. One word, reggaeglobalradio.com. And tune into Reason with Rattigan, where I'll have, as my guest, I'll have the People's Defender, Mr. Jeffrey Tavares. I'll have the Fireman, Conrad O'Brien. I'll have the illustrious Herb Nelson Jr. And I'll also have security extraordinaire, Robert Pinsley Smith. It will be an eye-opener and an insight. So tune in this Saturday, www.reggaeglobalradio.com at between 3 and 6 p.m. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rattigan, are you trying to tell me that this evening we should have a program, sir? Your final word, Herb Nelson Jr.
Listen, I think it's time that this PM consider reshuffling his security assets around. It appears to me that the only place left for him to reshuffle is possibly to go ahead and move like the head of the customs, Velma Ricketts Walker, move her into that national security advisor position. She is seeing a whole lot from the finance and from the customs and from police investigations that would allow her input from the 30,000 foot level. of being a national security advisor. Somebody else can handle her slot. And, you know, this would also prepare her for an eventual takeover of the commissioner of police job, because they need somebody without any baggage to come into that commissioner of police job next time around. And in preparing her, she should be prepared, just like the current occupant, by going through the national security advisor position and seeing everything that impacts Jamaica and seeing the dangers. Because financially, if you could not see this coming, if you were sitting up there at the national security advisor position and you didn't have any idea that this was in the works, if you weren't talking to finance and asking about the money laundering situation, if the FID didn't see it coming either, then that head needs to go as well. If anybody in the high command has investments with SSL that they considered more important than the welfare of the people of Jamaica, then they need to go. They have no choice but to resign. So at this stage, we need to ensure that before the FBI comes, some of the people do the honorable thing and step aside, so that the FBI can take over and do what they need to do. Probably to help us identify who are the honest brokers in the entire security system. Because you have people out there that have their hands in different cookie jars. And it's about time we shut that down. The last thing again I'll call for as we leave there is that Mr. Clark, whose father or uncle was killed as a result of the 2010 operation, he should be well aware that nobody's time on this earth is sacred. Seeing what happened to his uncle, he should be well aware that what
are you talking about? Are you talking about Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark?
That's right. He should be well aware that when you sacrifice a corporal and 2 privates to take the fall for the chain of command, that it is time to go back, relook what happened, and prosecute whether it's Lieutenant General, who was then Colonel Rocky Meade, or it's the current Major General Anderson. These folks need to be made to answer as to why Keith Clark had to die. Who gave the kill order on Keith Clark? Who gave the kill order on Keith Clark? It's the same confusion and the same issues we currently are enduring with who told FSC not to interfere with SSL. The FBI, if you're going to bring them in, if you're going to claim that you have problems that you can't solve, let's start there. And let's clean up what's wrong with the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Herbert Nelson Jr., Chairman of the Crime Security Region Committee of Studies in Washington, D.C. Am I correct, sir?
It's chairman of the Crime Institute of Caribbean Studies
in Washington, D.C.
Crime and Security Committee Group in Washington.
Yes, in Washington, D.C. A son of the soil, Wilfred Radigan, former FBI agent. Maybe this evening we'll come back on again to speak some more about Mr. Keith Clark. Who knows? We can come on this evening and speak some more about him. We'll let you all know. But this is where we say so long from here this morning. Thanks to my two good friends. And giving them a warning. The FBI is coming. So heads no roll down Timber Hill. I am Jeffrey Tavares saying, may God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. And may we, once and for all, get to the truth of what is going on in our beloved country when it comes down to corruption. Let the FBI do the work. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Until you hear my voice again later on this evening with Wilfred Radigan and Herb Nelson Jr. Have a good